Hi, my name's Mark. I'm one of the pastors here at Trillium. We've been going through Trillium's bedrock beliefs. And the beliefs start off with this: God's love unconditional. And then it goes down step by step through the various beliefs. And I realize that they're each of them, in a sense, another way of talking about love. And we get to the final one, which we're looking at today, called God's hands us. It's, in a sense, the fruition of this whole journey from God's love unconditional through God's power miraculous, all the way down to now we become the extension of God's love to the world. You know, I have a friend of mine who lives in Hamilton, and he pretty much partied hard in his youth, and actually in his middle age. And when he got into his mid-50s, he got really sick with cancer, really sick. And he had to go to a hospital, and he was in there for weeks on end, several weeks. And after a few of those weeks, I was able to get down to visit him, and I stopped in to see him with another mutual friend. And we were asking him how he was doing, because he didn't look too good, how he was dealing with the isolation, because he was in the back far reaches of the hospital where no one ever goes. And he said, surprisingly, a number of people that he thought would be there for him had kind of disappeared. Some of his closest friends, his most important acquaintances in his life, the kind of people that he assumed or presumed would come and visit him in the hospital, just simply disappeared. And yet, ironically, a few people that he never expected to see, people he didn't think he had a real major connection with or had an impact on, came out to see him. So on the most hand, a bit of disappointment, but on the other hand, a bit of wonderment about some people showing up that he never expected to see. It got me thinking about the fact that in this guy's life, a lot of people had stepped down. They'd really stepped down in his life in a big way. When he was at a moment of deep trial in his life, they just stepped away, stepped down. And yet a few people stepped up. And I've talked about this with other people too. I know a woman whose daughter committed suicide recently, and she talked about the fact that many of the important people in her life and her family have stepped down with her, but a few people have stepped up. And I had this experience with a woman who got divorced. She'd been really active in this charismatic community, Christian community, very committed part of the church. And then her and her husband split up. They got a divorce. You see, her husband had serious mental health issues, and she just couldn't stay in this relationship anymore. And yet the church shunned her. At the very moment when she was in despair and she needed them most powerfully, they shunned her and stepped down and away from her. I've seen this with people who have financial challenges or employment challenges in their life, a host of challenges and difficult circumstances, and having people step away from them. And I ask you this: are you a step up kind of person or a step down kind of person? What do you think for yourself? I often get reminded by non-church goers that they don't need to go to church to worship God. And I've heard that so many times that I've figured out how to respond to it, because I kind of agree with them. You don't have to go to church to worship God. You don't have to go to church to worship God at all. In fact, I totally get the fact that people feel more connected sometimes with this higher power out fishing in the wilderness or hiking a trail or just on their own underneath the sky. I totally get that. But I never thought church was about that anyway. We don't come to church because we think this is the exclusive place to worship God. I think Trillium, for instance, is a spiritual gym. I see the church ideally as a spiritual gym. I go to the Y to exercise my body, and I love the energy and the vibe there of working out with other people. I love the expertise of the trainers. I take yoga a lot at the Y, and they have some magnificent yoga instructors there. And I can have an experience at the Y that I cannot get at my own. I know lots of people who have gym equipment in their basement that never gets used. And I come to the Y because I need that kind of support. And the church is the same thing, but on a spiritual level. We come here to, in a sense, exercise our spiritual nature, our heart. See, we see at Trillium that God is love and only love. And we come here to exercise our spiritual nature, which is only love. And we come here to build a new perception around this love. And we come here to develop the kind of character of love that allows us to step up in people's lives when they run into difficult circumstances. And so that's the point of the church as far as I'm concerned. And we come here to train so that when the challenging moments of life come to us, when the difficult circumstances, trouble comes on into our lives or into the lives of other people, we know what to do. We know what to do. And I'd ask you to think hard about what the purpose of your life is this day. We looked at the story of Palm Sunday for for Jesus, and this was a huge step-up moment in his life. When he stepped up not just for himself, but for the world. Something powerful and enlivening was extended through him in his last week of his life, from Palm Sunday to Good Friday to Easter. In the resurrection, the fulfillment of an extension of love that goes through some pretty hard places. And I think Jesus came into the world not just simply to reveal this extension of love in his own life, but to call a people into existence who also wanted to live out the extension of love in their day-to-day existence. To be able to stand up in the tough circumstances and allow a light and an energy and a purpose to shine forth from them. That's what I see the church is about. And I think that's something that you can only learn in community with other people. And so there we are back again at the spiritual church, the spiritual gym, the spiritual community. We believe in Trillium that we are meant to be God's hands in the world, that there's an extension of love that's come through us that needs to go out into the world around us, that there's an enlivening presence that allows life to unfold in ways that it couldn't do on its own. God has this great dream for us to fulfill a vision for life that we are meant to live. You know, we are meant to be step-up people. That's how we are meant to be. We were created for this purpose. And we are at our very best when we're stepping up in the troubling, challenging places of our own lives, but especially in the lives of other people. So what's it going to be for you today? Are you going to become the step-up person? Is that where you're going to go with your life? I pray for you that that's your choice, that you engage in practices and in connections with communities who are committed to stepping up in all the challenging circumstances of life. Let that be your pledge this day. Go in peace. Be God's hands. Amen.